Conor McGregor. We're both going to introduce it.
I was actually waiting to see what would happen, but yes.
That's good. Conor McGregor. He is now the new interim UFC Featherweight Champion with a convincing second round performance.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
He did what I said he was going to do.
Which was?
When?
Oh, I was going to say, because he did none of the other things that he said he was going to do.
Yeah, he won. So that's what the first thing we have to state is that McGregor emerges victorious. A huge Irish following travelled to Vegas. I've seen the videos everywhere of their party afterwards. One of my friends was actually in Vegas while it was going on and said it was outstanding. They were starting all their chants around the MGM Grand, and I wished I could have been there. But it just adds to his further success, but it does pose a few questions about the fight in general. So what was your take?
Yeah, so in the first round, I was actually surprised. I knew Chad Mendes is the best wrestler in the featherweight division. Mm-hmm. And he gave Conor McGregor everything that we expected Conor McGregor's weaknesses to be. Mm-hmm. But before I came into this clip, I really was going to come in actually defending Mendes as like, why didn't he submit McGregor when he had the chance, and why didn't? And the more I watch the tape, the more it just proves that McGregor is a for-real fighter.
Yep.
And people are going to say like, oh, I can't wait for the conspiracy theories to come out, but they're going to say that Mendes was the better fighter in the fight, but McGregor won the fight. No, when you TKO somebody in the way that McGregor did with just pure power, power punches, power jabs, and especially closing the octagon on Chad Mendes himself, which is a complete turnover from the first round, it's going to make Aldo McGregor even bigger of a fight, and it does prove that, no, this isn't just a media darling that Dana White has who can talk a lot of trash and step up to the spotlight and beat down weak opponents. No, he took down Chad Mendes. Chad Mendes has only lost to Jose Aldo.
Yeah, so a few things I took from the fight. The start, I was surprised at the pace that Conor McGregor came out at. We expected him with Aldo to come out flying and take it to him. Maybe it was just because Mendes took him back, obviously trying to pick him up and slam him to the canvas straight away. And that's what Mendes does. He's very good at wrestling. But I spoke to you about this morning. I felt that if he went for more of a leg submissive approach and started to try and take down maybe Conor's knees and go for that area of weakness that people are saying that McGregor has, then he might have been able to get him into a submission or been somewhat more successful. But I was very impressed with Conor McGregor. I don't think that he ever looked in a very dangerous position on the ground to being submitted. There was a couple of instances where he was on top, but McGregor would always manage to wiggle free. And the one thing that I noticed from McGregor is he kept his legs free. That was essential for him, especially on the ground. He kept his legs free. He's very mobile. And then when after Mendes basically realized that he's given him the best chance he could have given himself basically to win this fight, and McGregor was emerged victorious from it, that's when it was McGregor's fight. Because as soon as Mendes tried everything in his capability to get him down to the ground and still couldn't captivate on that, or basically, obviously, take control of the fight from that, that's when McGregor came into his own, and that's when he found his range, and that's when he started landing those power punches. And I have no problems in saying that Conor McGregor in this division has the best power punches and range. He's got such a long reach.
Which is, I don't want to say rare, but it's not as striking when it's coming from a featherweight.
Yeah.
This is usually not a division that I would say holds up to more exciting, powerful fireworks is usually the word you'll see associated with it. Fighters. But now you're starting to build up the fact that you do have a fight against Aldo around the corner, especially with how great this card was altogether. Dana White was nothing but ecstatic. Actually, Dana White said it was the greatest UFC card of all time.
Dana, I have a feeling when this journey is all said and done for you, in many, many years, you'll look back on this night as one of the greatest of your career. Is that accurate?
No doubt about it. Obviously, there were a lot of new things we implemented tonight, from Reebok to the new graphics package and singing of the walk-ins and all these other things. I knew that we had a really cool show ahead of us. We just had to execute. You know, you have to go out there and you have to nail it. And I think this is without a doubt the best UFC ever.
Yeah.
Well, this is how it should have went, right? It should have went like it. Dana, when you're going to look back at this and you're going to see this as one of the best moments in history, right? Nah, it's all right. But what does that do for anything? It's not just a look of delight about what happened. It's relief. Because he knows that $10 million that he spent on advertising Aldo and McGregor, he's going to make it back probably 3-4 times his fold, because now McGregor has proven himself one more, and it's going to set up an even bigger, more captivating fight.
It's going to roll right back into Aldo McGregor, UFC 191 or not 192, because 190 is Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
It's already slated, but 191 is in September, and 192 I think is in late October.
It's like a
So,
lottery, rollover. He's not going to make his money back. You're more excited about it.
And if Dana White is smart and wants to actually prove a major point, he should rival UFC 191 or 192 against Mayweather when he fights.
Interesting.
To see, you want to stick to your guns, you want to actually prove that these two fighters can bring in more of an audience than right now boxing's biggest prize, do it. Go head to head with them, because it would be a very interesting take on how the UFC stacks up against boxing. But it wasn't just the interim title fight between McGregor and Chad Mendes. It was the welterweight title fight between Robbie Lawler and Rory MacDonald, which,
really
interestingly enough, a lot of Twitter, a lot of explanation beforehand on Thursday, on Friday, saying this might be a better fight if it lasts long. And it went 5 rounds, and these two were slugging each other. Robbie Lawler, who I was surprised came out on top, because, I mean, through 5 rounds, except through 4 rounds, I would have given that fight to Rory MacDonald easily, and it was bloody.
Did you see him, what he emerged? There was a picture of him in the hospital room. It was a broken nose. A broken foot as well.
Yeah, interestingly enough, it was how... I should say it's really Robbie Lawler's only chance, I think, of getting out of that fight alive and winning, even though it wouldn't have been a split decision. I know some of the judges in the 3rd round gave 10-9 to Lawler, while others gave 10-9 to MacDonald. It was a slugfest, and from those fans who are boxing fans, that's what a UFC boxing match technically looks like, at least in my opinion, because you do get guys working their jab very strongly, like Robbie Lawler did, to take out Rory MacDonald. And then there was also a guy who had a flying knee kick to the head.
Well, also from to go back to
the chin, I should say.
To go back to the McGregor standpoint, boxing enthusiasts will appreciate McGregor as well, because as much as boxing is a part of UFC, some people don't think it's as orthodox as you see in traditional boxing, of course, because it's not as precise, or technical. But in McGregor's standpoint, he has perfected his punching, and that's why he's unbelievable with his athleticism and his roundhouse kicks and what he can add to basically spice up a card. But he shows there that when it comes to just technique and jabbing and punching power, he's one of the best, and that's what I stated before. But one thing that they definitely cannot rival boxing with is the amount of money that they pay.
Dollar signs.
It's incredible for this. So you think about Mayweather, Pacquiao, of course that's one out of few, but in general boxing, their payouts are far more substantial than UFC.
They're in the tens of millions of dollars, almost every single title fight.
So here is the payouts included. So McGregor, $500,000, no win bonus. Chad Mendes, $500,000, wasn't eligible for a win bonus. And we're thinking as much, usually obviously the winner takes some more money.
Aldo was giving up at least $4 million when he backed out of the fight.
Yeah, so he's given up that. So I think that Chad Mendes was given an equal amount as Conor McGregor, because he was stepped in within 2 weeks, right? So he was a 2-week step in. You're expecting him to make the same, but then this one is a huge difference. So Robbie Lawler, $300,000 includes $150,000 win bonus, so he gets a bonus on top.
Not bad.
MacDonald, $59,000. As you go down, it seems like so Gunnar Nelson, $58,000. He had a win bonus. Mostly all of them have a win bonus, but even with this, Alex Garcia defeating Mike Swick, $30,000, including a $15,000 win bonus. Mike Swick, $48,000. So he defeated him, but he still managed to make more money than him.
Because it's usually
really, because it's an undercard. If the person
well, of course, the undercard's not going to make as much, but even in boxing, undercard fights are not $20,000, $30,000. They can
but that's what I'm talking about. It's just the amount of money that's involved.
Million.
Yeah. So overall, in terms of, as you mentioned, the sport can compete in terms of its audience it draws in. And this for me seems to like, this is unsettling for smaller fighters trying to emerge in the UFC, because the fight as a whole gathers an enormous amount of viewers. More people will tune in to watch a UFC undercard, I feel, than to tune in and watch an undercard for boxing.
I would agree to that, but the problem is, I would agree to that on a technical basis. I can't agree that to an actuality.
No, I'm not. I'm giving my own opinion.
Right, because if you look at the numbers for it, like when you buy a pay-per-view, you get everything.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are going to throw out there and say, oh, well, I didn't watch. I mean, here's the thing. I didn't watch the first undercard fight to the Mayweather-Pacquiao
No
fight.
one. Well,
but we still had to buy the fight, or wherever we were, cost money.
Maybe that's the wrong statement. Maybe people wouldn't watch it. Maybe people did watch it, but for me, watching it as an avid boxing fan as well, and more of a UFC enthusiast, I could tell you who was on an undercard for a UFC fight more than I could tell you who was on an
undercard for a boxing fight.
Especially for something like Maypac. I knew Robbie Lawler was fighting in this, and I was eagerly anticipating his fight as well as I was McGregor's fight in the end up. So I was tuning in because there's that entertainment value that you know when you watch the UFC. There's going to be some blood. There's going to be some gold. And there's amazing knockouts in boxing. But when it comes to UFC, there's that overall effect from the card from start to finish. They're often splicing superstars in amongst the full card rather than just
you get the
your value
simple.
for money.
You get better. You get a better product
Yeah.
when you watch a UFC fight. You do. Although I'm still a boxing fan. So.
Yeah, so am I. And that's what happens. Did you just raspberry into the camera?
Yes.
And we are back to being 12 years old. Thanks. But overall, so a successful card. We were talking about it after everyone's still been talking about it now. And now we're going to wait to see McGregor and Aldo. But you had an interesting opinion that I want you to say to the audience.
Before the Chad Mendes fight, I would have taken Aldo over McGregor any day of the week. I believed he wasn't tested enough. I know Aldo is a superior fighter to this before he fought Mendes. Now seeing him beat Mendes and being able to get away from one of the better wrestlers in UFC and the best in the featherweight, I'll still give Chad Mendes that credit. It gives McGregor more experience, a big W against a much better fighter than everybody else he's faced in his professional career. Now I take McGregor over Aldo. And the only reason for that being, I think McGregor can stand toe-to-toe to him and actually knock him out before 5 rounds. If it still goes 5 rounds, I'm giving it to Aldo.
Yeah, and this is a point that I said from the start. People are talking about, oh, maybe Aldo has noticed that this weakness of McGregor's game. There was an article I actually read on it. This weakness of McGregor's game. Now he's going to adjust. And I'm like, he's just going to start becoming more of a ground wrestler in his UFC career because he's just watched that McGregor was somewhat easily taken down in the first round. No, Aldo
7 years, 20-something fights into his career. You know what? I think I'm going to be the best wrestler in the featherweight division.
It's ridiculous. It's not. But the thing is, that the same things that Aldo will do correctly against McGregor are still going to stand. He's still going to try out those leg kicks, and he's still going to basically have to. I think it's going to switch. He's going to have to adjust to McGregor attacking him full pelt at the start, the way McGregor adjusted to Mendes.
Now I don't know what kind of pace McGregor's going to come out with. Is he going to come storming out the gate like he thought, or maybe he learned something from fighting Mendes in terms of maybe we'll take this one slower. Maybe we'll go for a knockout in a later round. McGregor definitely has the ability to win the psychological battle. I think he may have already won that battle because, again, there was...
The media is against Aldo now.
Well, the media is against Aldo because they need to make somebody a villain, and when everybody starts to look at McGregor as the hero instead of the villain, then you need somebody to play that role.
And of course,
but, I mean, Aldo's not a villain for... Aldo's not a bad person at all for backing out of this fight. I mean, like, I shouldn't say backing out.
If he didn't feel fit.
He didn't feel fit, and why would you? I mean, why would you pull, and this is so weird to say, but why would you pull a Pacquiao just to give people entertainment?
And I don't discredit Aldo for it. But what I do worry about is
as long as it happens.
Yeah,
it has to happen before
as long as it happens now. But then you hear people like Dana White coming out and saying that he didn't have actually the injury that he said he had.
Well, doctors confirmed it wasn't 3 broken ribs.
Yeah, but I think that's regardless whether he's got a bruised rib or a...
Would you fight McGregor with 3 bruised ribs?
No, I wouldn't. That's what I'm saying. Whether he's got
I wouldn't fight McGregor with 3 healthy ribs.
Whether he's got a broken fingernail or bruised ribs, if he doesn't feel fully confident in that fight, I would rather see him full pelt, ready to go, so we can get an accurate winner, rather than have someone who's a little bit tainted. Like how many fans feel disgruntled at the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight? It should. I still feel that Mayweather would have won with a fully fit Pacquiao, but now you still get the fans that are like, oh, Pacquiao was injured, so that's why he lost.
In addition to that, and we got to wrap up at some point. We like talking about UFC. With the featherweight division where it's at right now, Aldo McGregor is a fight that Dana White would want to make happen 3 times over.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll be Aldo McGregor 2 a year later, and Aldo McGregor 3, or maybe they'll take the Manny Pacquiao, Juan Manuel Marquez. 5 fights. 5
before you can get your fix out of it. All right, well, we want to know what you guys think. What did you think of UFC 189? Was it the best?
Was it the best ever?
Was it the best? That's the question we only want to know. We want you guys to comment in the section below. And as always, from Francis McGregor and Jason Rubin, make sure to come back. You didn't realize I called myself Francis McGregor.